fresh they are. So that's the reason why to buy cigars, many people like to come to stores like this one, where the cigars come straight ahead from the factory and not to commercialize on tourist places. That's the reason why you can see many locals coming here, because I will take you to local places, you know, not tourist places. Cigars. Cigars has become the second important economical step of the Cuban economy. What do Cuba export the most? Cigars. Firstly, doctors, but secondly, cigars. Coffee and rum, especially the Havana Club Brown, which is the most popular one. Now, when we talk about cigars, there are different brands of cigars divided. Let me cross. One, te voy a pasar para acá. So, when we talk about cigars, pay attention please, I want to give you quickly class. When we talk about cigars, we have to talk about 24 different brands of cigars that we have in Cuba. But most of the one important is divided in the third steps. The first one will be considered Cohiba, which is the famous one. The second one will be Monte Cristo, number 2. And the third one will be Romeo and Juliet. I like to say Romeo and Juliet is more for beginners when you want to start because it's medium, it's not so strong. When we talk about Cohiba, it's very important that you pay attention on the brown. It's not how fresh it is, you can smell it, but also you have to pay attention on the Indian face. That's why the name comes from. Cohiba was the native word that the native population of Cuba used to say to the Spanish when they arrived. They say, Cohiba, Cohiba, the bunch of leaves together. That's what makes popular these cigars. Right after the triumph of the Cuban Revolution, Fidel commercialized the Cohiba, and it was released to the people during the special period. So the people who got access to Cohiba for 40 years were only the best friends of Castro's family. We're talking about relatives, because this one was considered a very good and elegant cigar. But thanks to the economical crisis in the 90s, the Cohiba cigars were released to the people. And that's the reason why many people, and especially tourists, like to bring back home at least one Cohiba, because it tastes very, very good. Cohiba. These are different brands of Cohibas. They change the price because the size. It could be torpedo, like this shape that you can see over here. This is what we call torpedo. Or we can see thinner like this. The varieties of Cohibas that you can find come from Panetela, that's the way they call, and others like you can see here. Then we can find others like Monte Cristo, number 4, Monte Cristo number 2. Once again, this is considered the second most important brand of cigars. And then we talk about Romeo and Juliet. All of them are quite famous because everything is a whole handmade process. So that takes a whole process to fermentate the leaves of cigars, to bring it from the farmers, bring it here, and then commercialize the cigars. Don't miss the opportunity to bring back home Cohiba cigars. That's the main gate of the cemetery of Havana. That is considered one of the biggest cemeteries in Cuba, Columbus Cemetery. The name comes from Christopher Columbus because during the Spanish time they were planning to bury Christopher Columbus in this cemetery. But at the time that the cemetery was finished, I'm talking about the 19th century, the Spanish-American War started right after the first American intervention in 1898. So it was very difficult, and the Spanish is scared that the people would take revenge with the bones of Christopher Columbus. So they finished the cemetery, but they never buried Columbus there. However, Columbus Cemetery is considered one of the third most important cemetery in the world by the value of the architecture, because most of the sculptures that you can see are made in white marble from Carrara, Italy. For example, the whole cemetery and the main gate was designed by Calixto de Loira y Cardoso. Calixto de Loira y Cardoso was one of the most important architects, men that lived in the 19th century. But look at the statues on top of the main gate. The main gate says, I am the gate of the peace. But the statues on top means charity, means hope, and means faith. The statues on top of the gate were designed by José Vilalta y Saavedra. José Vilalta y Saavedra was one of the most representative sculpture men during the 19th century. And thanks to him, what you call a vault, and what you're gonna see up front is to delimitate the property of the cemetery, but the bodies are buried on the ground about 8 meters and 10 meters of depth. So when we can see the vault, it comes with the coffin part and the ashery. When the person dies in Cuba, only the family can bury the person, but they must come back after 2 years the person passed away, exhume the body, put the bones in the ashery, which is delimited in the same property, and they use the space on the ground for the rest of the relatives. When we have 2 bodies on the same property, we call a pantheon. When we build a construction on top of the pantheon, we call a chapel. And the rest of the monuments are very well known as sculptures values. Let me also provide the information that in this cemetery, the properties are still in the hands of the real owners. So many of the tombs are empty because belongs to very rich people from the wealthy upper class of Cuba before Castro being in power, people who lost everything and immigrate to the U.S., but they still have the properties empty here. The cemetery is not UNESCO World Heritage Site yet, but it will be in the future because the restoration process that is taken into account by Eusebio Leal Spengler, who is the historian of the Havana city, and that's the reason why it has been under the restoration for a couple of years. The symbols that you're gonna find in the cemetery looks like very similar to the Jerusalem city or maybe from the Crusades. When Calixto de Loira designed the cemetery, he believed that Columbus descended from the Crusades. So that's why in many places of the cemetery you're gonna find this kind of symbols. The marble statues come from Carrara,